Hey everybody, this is Mr. Hugel. Today I'm going to just give you an overview on naming ionic compounds and then writing ionic formulas. What's going to be helpful to have in front of you is your reference sheets. So the one sheet with the title of Know These Common Ions, that's helpful. Also, your two flowcharts. So the one side it says formula writing, and then on the other side it says naming compounds. Also, the examples are going to be coming right off of your ionic bonding packet. So if you also have that, that will be helpful as well. If you don't have those things, it's okay. We can still follow along. You'll be able to figure out how to do this. The first thing I'm going to talk about is just simply naming a very simple ionic compound. The easiest way to do that is to just follow this flowchart. A flowchart will just answer the questions and then you follow the line to the next spot. So is the first element a metal or is it ammonium? Our zinc there is a metal because it's on the left side of our step line, so it is an ionic compound. The next step, name the cation. Okay, the cation is called zinc. If the cation is copper, iron, nickel, or lead, write the Roman numeral. Well, it's not any of those, so we don't have to worry about that. So we're just going to go to the next square. And the next square tells us to name the anion. All right, the anion, here is N, so that's nitrogen. However, it says if the anion is a single element, change the ending to an "ide." Okay, so I'm just going to erase that ending and I'm going to change it to nitride. And there you go. That's how you name ZN3N2, zinc nitride. Okay, the next example, we're still on the front page of your ionic bonding packet, would be to, if we're given the name, how do we change that into a chemical formula? So if we give you aluminum oxide, how do we change that into a chemical formula? So we're going to look at the other side of your reference sheet, and this would be the one for formula writing because we want to write a formula. So does it start with a metal or ammonium? Aluminum is a metal. Aluminum is a metal. It's on the left side of that step line. So yes, it's ionic. Step 1, write down the chemical symbols for the two ions that make up the compound. Now, if you look on your Know These Common Ions sheet, you can find the information there. You can also, for this example, get that information off the periodic table. Aluminum is Al, and the charge on the aluminum ion is 3+. Oxide is O, 2-. Okay, then we need to balance, step 2 here, balance the positive and the negative charges in the formula. You drop the charges because charges are only given as a superscript, but to balance these charges out to make this into a compound that works, we need to get our charges to equal 0. They need to be neutral 0. So we're going to drop that charge and drop that charge. And we are going to put this 2 down here as now a subscript of aluminum. And this 3 without the charge becomes the subscript for oxide. Al2O3. Now our charges are balanced, and that is how you write that compound. Okay, now we're just going to go to page 2 on your ionic bonding packet, where we're going to be naming some compounds that have Roman numerals in them. So this just happens to be when a cation can exist in multiple ionic states. We tell everybody what state it's in by giving it a Roman numeral. This little photo that I've put in here is right off of your Know These Common Ions sheet. And you will notice that copper, just as an example here, we have copper 1 right there. We also have copper 2. And that Roman numeral just indicates what the charge is on that copper. So I have to decide if it's copper, or if it's iron, or if it's nickel, or if it's lead, like which one is it? And I determine that by looking at the charge on the anion that it's paired with. So chloride as an anion is -1. I kind of picture this as like a dotted line between my cation and my anion. And between that dotted line, my charge has to equal 0. So what do I have to put on the left side of this dotted line for that to equal 0? Well, I would have to put a +1, because +1 minus 1 is equal to 0. So if it's +1, it is this form of copper, and it's copper 1, and then I name the anion, just like I did in the very beginning of this video, and I name it copper 1 chloride. The other example would be CuCl2. Again, I look on what's on the right side, what's on the anion side. Chloride ion is -1, but there are 2 of them. So -1 times 2 is equal to -2. So how do I balance with just one atom of copper? How do I balance it out to -2? Well, the charge on this copper must be +2, because this +2 minus 2 is going to equal 0. So since this copper is +2, I name it with the Roman numeral of copper 2 chloride. And now here's another example. What if I'm given the name of a compound that has Roman numerals in it? Well, I just follow my steps here on my flow chart. The compound is ionic because it starts with a metal. So I'm here at step 1. Write down the chemical symbols for the 2 ions that make up the compound. Okay, so lead is Pb. Lead 4 just indicates that the charge on this form of lead, this ionic form of lead, is +4. Oxide is still oxygen, 2-. Now I'm here at step 2, and I'm doing the swap and drop again, where I get rid of the charges. Remember, you never write charges on subscripts. They only belong on the superscripts, where that 2 is going to go down there, to lead. So Pb2, this 4 from lead goes down to oxygen, O4. Now this helps us balance the charges, but this is not how that compound will exist. If you look at this last instruction here on this flowchart, it says reduce the subscripted numbers if necessary. So with ionics, if you can reduce these numbers, if there is a common multiple between the 2, you must reduce them. And that common multiple here is 2. So this becomes PbO2. The last thing I need to talk about with ionic compounds are when the ion is polyatomic, meaning poly, meaning more than one atom in the ion. I'm going to give you first an example of the formula and naming the formula. So on the left here, I've got Mg3PO4 2. So I'm going to follow my flow chart for naming compounds. Magnesium is a metal, so it's ionic. Name the cation. I just did. I called it magnesium. Then the next part on the flowchart says to name the anion. Now this looks different because it isn't just a single letter. You know, we were used to seeing something like just an oxide, or just fluoride, or just chloride. Well, this is the same thing. I mean, it's still an ion, but it just happens to have more than one atom. So I find this on my common ions sheet. I just look for this ion. This is the anion, PO4. And here it is. And that anion is called phosphate. So if it's polyatomic, I don't add the IDE ending. I just name it whatever its name is. So that is magnesium phosphate. Now going here on the other side, where I've got antimony 3 acetate, and again this is right off of your packet. So antimony is Sb, and since it's got a Roman numeral of 3, the charge is 3 plus 3, and then I've got this acetate for my anion. I just have to look on my sheet. If it's not on the periodic table, if I can't find it anywhere, this should be your go-to. This reference sheet should be your go-to. And I'm like, where is acetate? Oop, there it is. And that is C2H3O2. And that whole thing, all of these atoms together, C2H3O2, has a charge of -1. Now I just continue on and do my same thing. I take this one and I drop it down to here. But of course in chemistry we never write ones in chemical formulas, they're just inferred. This 3 needs to go down here to balance my charge. Since it's a polyatomic ion, this 3 needs to be distributed through that whole ion. When we distribute through a whole ion in a chemical formula, we put it in parentheses, C2H3O2. I don't change anything about that anion. I leave it as is. All I do is make sure that there are 3 of them for every 1 antimony. If you have any questions on this, please ask your chemistry teachers.